We are back with another video, and today's video is one of the most highly requested videos I've had in about the last week to 2 weeks since the Navy update has officially went live, and we are going to be talking about some of my rather early predictions as to what are going to be the best and most effective Navy units in Warpath. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome back. I hope everybody is doing wonderful, and I hope life is going well for each and every one of you. Like I said in the intro, I've had a lot of people reaching out to me asking me what are the best Navy units that they should be investing in, and you know, I did do a little bit of the testing in the summertime. It was only for a weekend, so there wasn't a lot of time, I suppose would be the fair way to put that. They also really limited what we could do. They didn't let us like build units or anything like that. So it was good. It was definitely very good to get our hands on things a little early. But with that being said, these are going to be my early predictions as to what it may end up being some of the more effective Navy units, but also please remember that I am just like you and I am learning as we move forward myself. So my suggestions are my personal opinion, and they are more than likely to change. Something that I say is potentially going to be good in the future may end up being really good in the future, or it may end up not being that good. So just keep that in mind. Before we jump in and start talking about these specific units though, if you enjoy this video, get any value out of this video, and want to continue to see more videos here on the channel, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel if you were not already. All right, now let's jump in and start talking about the Navy units. All right, so doing a quick rundown from each one of these camps. In the Martyrs camp, we've got our armored destroyer and our submarine. The Liberty camp, we've got the guided missile destroyer and the aircraft carrier. And in the Vanguard camp, we have got the anti-aircraft destroyer and the anti-submarine frigate. So my first suggestion is going to be the armored destroyer. I've compared these to other ground force units in previous videos, so if you have not checked out my few earlier this month Navy videos, I would encourage you to go do so, as there's some pretty good information shared over there as well, based on what I was able to gather information-wise from the test server. But the armored destroyer is comparable to think like the super heavy in terms of ground force units. It's going to have a pretty decent attack capability. It is going to be one of the stronger units, and it is good for attacking or leading attacks against bases, as it's going to be able to absorb the most amount of damage. So depending on your playstyle, the armored destroyer is definitely going to be an asset for not only you, but for your alliance as a whole. Now, when it comes to the Liberty camp, both Navy options are going to be, in my opinion, really, really good options, and I think they're going to be options that are going to be, relevant for the foreseeable future in regard to Navy. The guided missile destroyer is similar to the Liberty artillery unit. It's going to dish out a ton of damage against other units as well as against bases. And then the aircraft carrier is kind of its own standalone thing. It's not really comparable to any ground force units per se, but it does dish out a lot of damage. It's not the strongest Navy unit in the game for sure, so if something gets a hold of it, it's going to die fairly quickly from at least my experience with it, but it does do a lot of damage when you are able to keep it out of harm's way, so to speak. Now, the aircraft carrier is something to note, at least from my limited experience. It does really, really well against other Navy units specifically, but it does not do much damage at all against fortifications, i.e. bases. And then we have got the Vanguard camp. We've got two Navy units here as well. We've got the anti-aircraft destroyer and the anti-submarine frigate. Now, think about the anti-aircraft destroyer almost similar to like a light tank. It is going to target like aircraft carrier airplanes, so it's going to be effective in that role. So it does have some application depending on, your play style. The anti-submarine frigate is really only going to be applicable against submarines, and submarines are kind of the Joker card right now, or the unknown, right? We don't really know what to expect with the submarines. The submarines are like the light tanks. They're fast moving. You've got to get in close proximity to other units to be able to attack. Once you attack, they can see you and track you for a period of time. So they're not the strongest units in the ocean, so to speak, but there's still a lot of question marks around submarines. I've done just a little bit of testing, and there's a lot of question marks around submarines. They may end up being great, or they may end up not being very good. I anticipate, since it's a very niche unit, I assume that if it's not very good on the front end, the devs will at some point probably try to buff the submarines to become relevant, kind of like they did with infantry. So I would be cautious with the submarines early on, but just kind of keep that in the back of your mind that they're probably going to make sure that they become relevant units within the game at some point. All right, so now that we have reviewed each one of these Navy units, I'm going to give you guys my top 3 picks as to what are going to be the best overall early investments in regard to Navy units that you can make. Again, I could be wrong. I could be right. This is just from my personal limited experience, and I'm still learning like each one of you. So take my suggestions for what they're worth. You can use them, you cannot, but just know it's likely to change. There may be a unit in here I suggest that ends up being the best Navy unit in the game, and there may be some that I suggest that are like, they're mid, not really relevant. As time goes on, they make some changes and some tweaks, things like that. So my first suggestion is absolutely going to be the Armored Destroyer. I think that's going to bring a lot of value to both players personally and also in regard to their alliance. And then my second and third suggestion is going to be the Guided Missile Destroyer. That just seems to be an absolute workhorse. Again, think Liberty Artillery Unit is going to do great against bases, is going to do great against other Navy units. And then the Aircraft Carrier, while it is not the strongest unit in the Navy lineup, it does dish out a pretty considerable amount of damage, especially if you have Navy fleet groups, think Army groups, that are kind of in supporting roles around this thing and can keep it safe. I think the Aircraft Carrier has a chance to be a really effective unit, but if left unprotected, it will get killed very quickly. While those are my top 3, I at least wanted to throw in one honorable mention here because I do see it becoming somewhat relevant, and that is going to be the Anti-Aircraft Destroyer. This is going to be, like I said, similar to think the light tank. It can target enemy aircraft coming off of the aircraft carrier. So if you have, say, a fleet of anti-aircraft destroyers, you can really protect some of your units against those aircraft carrier planes. I think it's going to have a role. I think it's going to be a more niche role that it plays, but I do think it's going to be relevant. And I also think it probably will be a value add in regard to your base if you are getting attacked there as well. So that's more or less just an honorable mention. The anti-submarine frigate, I just don't really see that being relevant. I mean, it very well might be. I wouldn't be surprised if we look up in a few months and everybody's running anti-submarine frigates. But I just, early on, I'm not really sure how applicable those are going to be. And then jumping back over here again, submarines, I wouldn't disregard them. I think because they are a niche role unit, they're going to ensure that they are relevant and they are used. I just don't know how relevant they're going to be early on. I think as time goes by, they see how the gameplay is unfolding, they make some tweaks. I think that's when we might start to see some more submarine gameplay. But once again, I could be wrong. There may be a ton of people investing in submarines early, and we just have a huge mashup of subs all over the water. So we'll have to wait and see. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to you in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what units you are investing in. Do you agree with my list? Do you disagree with my list? And tell me why. If you have stuck around and made it this far into the video, if you have got access to Discord and are not already in our community Discord server, the link to that is going to be in the description of the video below. Click on that link. It will take you right into the community server. If you are a new player and have questions, want to learn some more, if you just want to come chat about Navy units, or if you are a veteran player and just want to come hang out and get to know more people in the community, doesn't matter. Absolutely everybody is welcome. As always, thanks for taking the time to watch the video today, and we'll see you on the next one.